Good morning. My name is Annie, and welcome to the Walking Word, where we go through the Holy Bible in a year as part of discipling. We have finished the book of Samuel. We're now moving to the book of Second Samuel. And it's just a continuation of what is happening in David's life. So, the second book of Samuel, we'll begin in chapter 1, where the report of David's death finally gets to reach the report of Saul's death. I apologize. The report of Saul's death finally gets to reach David. Okay. The second book of Samuel, chapter 1. After the death of Saul, David returned from his defeat of the Amalekites and spent 2 days in Ziklag. You remember the land that was given by King Achish. So he, after he finished the Amalekites, he went, took back everything that he had lost. And now he's back in Ziklag for 2 days. On the third day, a man came from Saul's camp with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. Going to David, he fell to the ground in homage. David asked him, "Where do you come from?" He replied, "I have escaped from the Israelite camp. I have escaped from the Israelite camp." Aha. You escaped from the Israelite camp. Tell me what happened. David bade him. He answered that the soldiers had fled the battle, and that many of them had fallen and were dead, among them Saul and his son Jonathan. Then David said to the youth, the young guy basically, who was reporting to him, "How do you know this, that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" The youthful informant replied, "It was by chance. It was by chance that I found myself on Mount Gilboa and saw Saul leaning on his spear." You remember Saul committed suicide? Leaning on his spear with chariots and horsemen closing in on him. He turned around and seeing me, called me to him. So Saul didn't completely finish himself off. So when he was about to just die, as he's leaning through his spear, he calls this young lad. He turned around and seeing me, called me to him. When I said, "Here I am," he asked me, "Who are you?" And I replied, "I'm an Amalekite." Then he said to me, "Stand up to me, please, and finish me off, for I am in great suffering, yet fully alive." So I stood up to him and dispatched him, for I knew that he could not survive his wound. I removed the crown from his head and the amulet from his arm and brought them here to my Lord. This is an Amalekite. See what David did. David seized his garments and rent them, and all the men who were with him did likewise, the mighty men of David. They mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the soldiers of the Lord of the clans of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. Remember, this was the team that David technically should have gone to support in war for killing the Israelites. And in that war, who was leading that war? It was Saul, Jonathan and his sons, Jonathan and his brothers. They all went for this war. And David was too. And this is why we call we call God's mercies the mercies of David. Another name we give his mercies is the mercies of David, of how he just used to remove David out of certain situations. Because look at what the anguish David is going through now. What if it was through his hands that he inflicted pain to the Israelites? He'd probably never forgive himself. At first, he saw as Achish, King Achish, like, "Why are you rejecting me?" And this is something sometimes we go through as human beings, is we always think, okay, why is this person rejecting me? Why is this opportunity rejecting me? Why is this situation rejecting me and things like that. When sometimes we don't see, we can't see far, of course, but sometimes it's the mercies of God when someone rejects you. And this is one instant. Okay. So David and his men have torn their garments, they're fasting, they're in mourning. Jonathan is dead, Saul is dead, they're in utter anguish. Um, then David said to the young man who had brought him this information, "Where are you from?" He replied, "I am the son of an Amalekite immigrant." David said to him, "How is it that you are not afraid to put forth your hand to desecrate the Lord's anointed?" Now, now David is back. He's like, so you are an immigrant, an Amalekite. You used to live with the Israelites. Um, and you agreed to finish off the anointed one of God, King Saul. Even I myself, who God handed him over and over to me, I could not kill him because God had already anointed him. That's how much I honor God. Even if he hands over my enemy, if God ever anointed that enemy, I'm not going to touch that enemy. Look at this. Look at this. David said to him, "How is it that you were not afraid? You were not afraid. How is it that you lacked honor for God? So much so that you could agree, even if this man told you, kill me. But how could you agree to kill someone who God has anointed?" David then called one of the attendants and said to him, "Come, strike this young man down. Kill this guy, this one who's brought for me information." The audacity, just the audacity. David really amuses me. "Come, strike him down." And the youth struck him a mortal blow. Meanwhile, David said to him, "You are responsible for your own death, for you testified against yourself when you said, 'I dispatched the Lord's anointed.'" You're the one who set up this trap for yourself. You're the one who caused you brought the drama to yourself, not me. Then David chanted this elegy for Saul and his son. So it's like a prayer, yeah? And we know David, and just his heart after God, wrote very many prayers, some of them which we sing in the Psalms, yeah? And so this is one that David sang as he was chanting a prayer for Saul and his son Jonathan, which is recorded in the book of Jasher to be taught to the Judahites. So there's actually a book that exists that is called the Book of Jasher. Okay. "Alas, the glory of Israel, Saul, slain upon your heights. How can the warriors have fallen? Tell it not, tell it not in Gath." Remember Gath, the Philistines? "Herald it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the Philistine maidens rejoice, lest the daughters of strangers exult." Please, let's not speak of this death of King Saul and Jonathan. Like, let our enemies not hear it, lest they rejoice in it. Yeah? "Mountains of Gilboa, may there be neither dew nor rain upon you." Remember, these are the place where the death actually happened. "Nor upsurging in of the deeps. Upon you lie begrimed the warrior's shields. The shield of Saul no longer anointed with oil, because he's now gone. Saul's shield no longer has God's anointment on it. From the blood of slain, from the bodies of the valiant. The bow of Jonathan did not turn back, or the sword of Saul returned unstained. Saul and Jonathan, beloved and cherished, separated neither in life nor in death. Swifter than eagles, stronger than lions, women of Israel, weep over Saul. The same guy who's been trying to kill you, weep over him. Oh, David, who clothed you in scarlet and finery, who checked your attire with ornaments of gold. How can the warriors have fallen in the thick of the battle, slain upon your heights? I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. Most dear have you been to me. More precious have I held love for you than love for women. Remember, David had a problem with, let's just put it as it is. David had a womanizing problem. He loved women. How can the warriors have fallen? The weapons of war have perished. Yeah. So David is in pain as he sings this, as he chants this. So you can imagine chanting. So he's chanting this over and over and over again. Let's move to chapter 2 when David is finally anointed king.